This is JP here with Defray Personal Injury Show, and I'm here with our host, Nicole.
Hi guys, today we are here with Tina
Odjaghian.
Odjaghian.
Yes.
Amazing last name, which I'm having a very hard time pronouncing.
You and the entire world, honey.
Kind of nervous right now because we have like a little celebrity in the house.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
now I know you're clowning.
No
Thank
pressure.
you.
No pressure.
I'm very jealous of the closet.
Nicole admires your
the
closet.
Clothes, the dressing. She's always on point, and yes.
Yes.
You're always stunning yourself. So that's such a huge
Thank you.
compliment coming from you. Thank you for that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's like my creative
Absolutely.
outlet. That's my happy place.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I want to talk to you about our Doctors for Accidents magazine. You wrote an amazing article in it and about your story and how you came here. And you came here because your brother, he was going to be turning 5 and you were trying to get out before he was drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you older than your brother?
I am. So I'm 5 years older than him. Thank you for the feature, by the way. It was
Of
really
course.
emotional to read after it was all put together. I really, I was touched by it and I really appreciated it. So thank you both for
Absolutely.
that. So I was 10 years old back in Iran during the Iran-Iraq War. After the revolution, and it was a tough place to be. Like bomb shelters, there were bomb shelters in the basement of all the buildings, including ours, and so sirens would go off at night, and we would all know to run down into the bomb shelter, and then they would just bomb all over the city, civilians. They didn't care, and so it was a scary time. But it had become the norm until, one day we learned because of the shortage of soldiers, they were starting to not draft boys into the army at 5, but prevent them from exiting the country to ensure that they had, a pool to draft from at like 6 or 7 years old, which is horrifying if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a 6-year-old now, and I can't
You
even
can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Oh, my God.
right? So my dad knew that my mom was, loved it there. Her whole life was there, and so he couldn't tell us that we were moving here for good. So he told us we're going on vacation. And we came here in one suitcase with the expectation that we'd be going back. And then he broke us the news that we won't be going back. It's probably a
Oh,
good
my
decision on his part,
Yes.
but it definitely... it definitely was a prelude to a lot of difficult years here as a first-generation immigrant. All of which I'm grateful for, in the grand scheme of things. But back then, as a 10-year-old, it's hard to wrap your brain around it.
So how many languages do you speak?
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
Depends on the
I
day.
read 5. Is that true?
I used to speak Russian fluently because I lived with my
Wow.
grandma for a while when she first moved out here, and I was starting law school, and she used to speak it to me. And after she passed away, I didn't practice it as much. And so, with languages, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so I
Yes.
speak Armenian, I speak Farsi, I speak Spanglish, thanks to my nanny. I love her.
Ah.
And thanks to all of my clients with whom I communicate in Spanish mostly because, most of them are only Spanish speaking.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah, and English on a good day. So, yeah. That's,
Well, JP can always teach you Spanish.
Yeah, yo hablo español perfectamente. Yep.
yo hablo poquito,
Ah, sí,
pero
ok.
entiendo todo.
Está bien. Yep, perfecto. So it sounds like, from what I've read and what I've seen on social media, are you practicing workers' comp, or are you doing personal injury, or are you doing a little bit of both? As it just depends.
We do a little bit of both on the crossover cases because, some fact patterns lend themselves to both, as you know. So imagine the situation where someone is driving a truck at work and they get hit by a third party. They've got a workers' comp claim, and
Right.
if the other party was in fault, then they would have a third party claim against them. Or think about the construction site where, I've got a client that works for the framer, but because of the negligence of the general contractor, or the negligence of another subcontractor, they were
Right.
badly hurt. So they would have a workers' comp claim against their employer, but they'd also have a third-party PI claim against the other subcontractor. But the bulk of
Interesting.
my work is catastrophic workers' comp. So it's traumatic brain injuries that arise out of, the industrial realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So how many years have you been practicing law?
I'm 17, 18 years in now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's great.
I've seen you've had some great results. You've gotten extremely popular there with TBI. You have now started Brain SoCal. How many years has Brain SoCal been around?
It's a baby nonprofit organization. We're in our third year. We're starting our third year now. But last year we were dormant for the most part because of COVID.
COVID,
Of course.
right.
We weren't able to have our conference. But 2 years ago, we had our inaugural conference, and that was a huge success. We had 800 people show up at the Biltmore in downtown LA, and so
very nice.
Yeah, it's a baby organization, but I'm super proud of it.
So, what's the point of the organization? What do you do for? I guess what's the goal for the organization?
That's a great question. So look, our mission statement and our goal for the organization is to sort of raise the bar industry-wide for folks that are charged with the responsibility of taking care of folks who have brain injuries. So what do I mean by that? As an attorney practicing TBI litigation, I would see oftentimes that like there are two plaintiffs that had similar injuries. You can never have the same injury because every brain injury is different, right? But similar injuries, and all things held, constant and equal, they would get these hugely different results, and there's a huge disparity in the results obtained, and a lot of that had to do with the resources of the attorney, the skill set of the attorney, how many years out of school they were, how they were perceived by the insurance carrier, whether or not they were regarded as someone who's going to go forward and try that case, or if they were regarded as someone who's going to sell their clients out. And so, a lot of people say, well, why do you share all your experts and you share all your resources? I do. And the reason for that is I feel like if my colleagues start asking for more money and hitting bigger results for brain injured folks, then it's going to be easier for me to do that. When I go to the carrier, they're not going to look at me like I'm crazy and my case isn't worth that. So the idea behind it was to get all the masters in our practice area who represent catastrophically injured folks and pool our resources and teach younger attorneys who maybe have limited resources, and younger clinicians, even doctors who say TBI is not a thing, or the super conservative ones who just aren't enlightened in regarding the new medicine and how brain injuries can be a disease process
Absolutely.
that affects all different aspects of your health and your life. And so we thought a conference would be a good way to bring together the most cutting-edge diagnostics and treatment modalities.
It's amazing because I remember maybe a couple years back, I saw one of the testimonials that you had, and this person I think was working, in an industrial type of job and had a fall of some sort. It was just so sad, but my goodness, I mean, that must be tough dealing, with a lot of the TBI injuries. I mean, emotionally, is it stressful? Is it
It's really emotionally draining, but if you think about it, I mean, so is family law, so is other areas of practice. The nice thing about it, though, I'll tell you, is you get to be a part of the silver lining in their story and in their tragedy, and you really feel like you get to help them and you get to make a difference. Yeah. And so is it difficult? Absolutely, because brain injured folks are not the easiest to deal with, and their families are, at their wits' end oftentimes, and so they're not easy to deal with. But I think, for the most part, if you do a good job and if they feel like you're on their team, they're really appreciative. My clients are wonderful, for the most part. And so, I love doing what I do.
That's amazing.
That's great.
So is there any advice you would give your younger self starting a law firm? If you could rewind back in time and tell yourself...
Oh my God, so many mistakes. No, I'm just kidding.
But mistakes are good. You need mistakes to learn. That's just how life is. But if there was one specific thing...
I always say, as a first generation immigrant who, kind of was left to my own devices for a minute there, I think I always struggled with self-confidence, and so I always say the advice I would give myself is that you've got what it takes, and it's going to be okay at the end of the day. Worry less, because I was such a worrywart and always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I think that's just part of my geological blueprint. It comes from the trauma that I incurred moving here at such a young age and having my support structure ripped away. But so that my biggest thing is, have faith, stay your course, and everything will turn out as it should. But as, I evolve and we change in our practice as we get older, I'm realizing that, the new epiphanies tend to center around you can't pour from an empty cup. You got to take care of yourself and put yourself first. Go to that doctor's appointment you've been putting off. Go to the gym. Take time with your family. You see on my social media, I make it a point, no matter what craziness is going on at the office, to incorporate other fulfilling aspects in my day-to-day life so that I can do a better job representing my clients. Because weeks that I'm in trial and I have insane weeks, I feel drained. I think that obviously is going to impact my ability to perform and deliver. So make yourself a priority. That would be
Absolutely.
That would be advice.
So,
Any advice for all the young mothers out there who are trying to start their own companies or their own business?
I would say, if you're in a firm or in a practice where you see the aptitude for growth and advancement and opportunity, then put yourself in a position to take advantage of that and make it known early on that you're interested, and be vocal about what you want and assert yourself and ask for it, because otherwise you're not going to be given it, and that includes opportunities to try cases and such. Now, if you're in a situation where you feel like, it's just not going to happen, there's just no opportunity there, then get out, and if there's no room at the table, set your own table is what I always say. And don't wait for the right time. There's never a right time, I remember when I was thinking of going out on my own, I'd say, okay, well, let's just pay off this, credit card debt first, or let's just do the student loan first, or let's just have the first baby first. But, as things get going, life gets busier and there's more to do and there's more obligations and more responsibility on your plate. And so if you wait for the right time, that time will just never come. So take the leap of faith, expect to have it be rough for a year or two, but do your very best, put yourself out there and the opportunities will just come. Do it.
I'm a huge believer of like when an opportunity shows up, it's like you got to seize the moment. If you don't,
absolutely,
opportunities only come once in a while, and it's like if you're not taking advantage of it, you're not really going anywhere. I think that's part of what Nicole and I have really done is taken as much as we possibly can, and whenever an opportunity has shown up, we've made it to where we are right now.
Shifted schedules.
Oh yeah.
Lots of times with our son at grandma's.
I'm really proud of you guys, though. Honestly, I have to tell you, and you guys make such a great team, and you've got such great chemistry, and so evident. Thanks. And for you to break off and do your own thing, I know that wasn't easy, but you did it, and so that's a perfect example of how to go about it.
Do you have any particular books that that you read or that you suggest for anybody out there?
I feel terrible saying this because I'm a huge proponent of being well-read and self-taught, and I used to read a lot in my childhood because I had a lot of time to myself. And when I was bad, and that was often, my punishment was to copy pages out of the dictionary because my mom was, something else. But, it also helped enhance my vocabulary for English being my fourth language. And, I've always been really appreciative for my good command of language that stems from copying many pages, probably the entire flippin' dictionary. But I haven't had much time to read lately. The last time I really enjoyed a read where I reread this particular author's books was probably a year or two ago. I love anything Malcolm Gladwell.
Nice.
I love his book, A Blink, Outliers, all of them. I think they're interesting, but they also have great pearls of wisdom that anyone can apply in their everyday life, and trusting their instincts and what it takes, and how to get to the next level and so forth. And so those are books that I always recommend. There are other self-help books that I love when I have time to read. I like to read books about positive mindset and things like that, because I think that I find that most fulfilling, and it enhances, my mood and my perspective on things,
Yeah, I know a lot about that.
This one loves
I can
reading.
definitely relate there big time.
I'm more of the artsy type.
Oh, you are? That's really great too, because that's a creative outlet, and it gets your serotonin, endorphin, all that helps with mental health too. So
for sure,
it's a win-win.
For sure.
Always find some sort of anything that you're interested in, and just use it for the relaxation point of your life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Painting, reading, listening to music, any way to relax the brain is good.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tina, for coming on. You are a huge inspiration for a lot of people, and I really enjoyed your story and how you started to where you are now and what you've done, and especially being a mother and being where you're at today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's incredible, seriously.
You guys are both amazing, and I really appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having you at my conference. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.